Hello, and welcome to Does It Resonate With You, the thought-provoking conversation show where your hosts, Angie of the ZXUH Method and John the Tarot Geek, figure out what resonates with them while encouraging you to find what resonates with you. Let's get started. Hello, welcome. We're going to talk about energy healing today. I'm excited. So this is Does It Resonate With You? Don't forget to reach down and subscribe, or pop over to YouTube and subscribe if you're listening to us on the podcast. You can also listen to all the episodes on the YouTube podcast now. We moved them over into that category as well. So there's plenty of ways that you can hear what we have to say, which is what we think, right? And what we are encouraging you to do is take what works and leave the rest behind. Mm-hmm. So does it resonate with you?
Yep.
So we just came up with a new thing. We both have questions, we both have answers, and we both have ideas on how things work. So I'm excited because, energy work is my jam.
This is where Angie lives.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've discovered that I'm not necessarily cut out to do one-on-one work when it comes to energy. I like working with the groups. I love to create how do you say that? Matrices, whatever. Yeah. How about this? I love to create an energy matrix into which I bring the people I'm going to work with in a group, like a container, if you will. It seems like everywhere you look, the spiritual world, they're talking about containers these days.
Yep.
So,
used to be just the globe of light, and now it's a little more
sophisticated. I do enjoy a globe of light every now and then. I mean, you know me, I've been floating around in Glinda's bubble in the past. So that's another episode, right? That's a different episode. Indeed. So energy healing, like, what is it? I mean, I have some ideas, and I think that a lot of people have a lot of ideas, and I think people have one idea of what it is before they learn how to do it. And they have another idea altogether after they learn how to do it.
Yep.
Because I think it seems like a real enigma, before you're like, oh, should I learn how to do it? I mean, I've had people say, oh, you don't want to take energy work until you're ready for it. Or my favorite was before I decided to take Reiki 1. And it was local, and it was, live with a teacher.
Yep.
And I remember mentioning it to somebody, and this girl goes, oh, you're going to be miserable. You're going to take it, and you're going to be miserable. When you finish, you're going to not understand where things are coming from, and you're going to be angry, and you're going to be releasing. And I looked at her and I said, no, I'm not. And guess what? No, I wasn't.
Nor was
no, I didn't. Right? Like, it's really interesting, but that is I don't know, what is it, a misnomer? It is a thought process out there. It is a misconception that's out there, but I think that when people believe it, it happens to them. So I'll just say, for me, I am a Reiki master. We talked about that. I think we didn't talk about it on the show yesterday or last time.
Right.
But I'm a Reiki master, and my Reiki lineage is 5 from Usui himself.
Yep.
So that means I was attuned by somebody who was attuned, by Takata's granddaughter, who was attuned by Takata, who was, his student, and then Takata was attuned by Usui. So that's how the lineage works.
Yep.
So I have that.
I think I'm 7 from Usui.
See?
Yep.
And I mean, that's, that means something to me, to be honest with you. I should have turned that down. Sorry, folks. Real life it is here. Anyway, so that, that means something. So I have that. I have that. And then I have Amakua Ki, which is we don't talk a lot about it, but it is an energy modality that I am attuned to. I was attuned by the Grandmaster, by both Grandmasters, actually. There are 2.
Cool.
So I have a pretty impressive lineage there too.
Yeah,
whether or not it's a completely different kind of, it's a different frequency, I guess is the way to
Okay.
put it.
Interesting.
So there's that. And then I'm also attuned to read the Akashic record. I believe in attunements. I believe in that connection to the energy.
You want to talk about that? Let's talk about that, because that was for me the most confusing part of Reiki, is like, what is actually going on with the attunement?
Okay. Well, I guess this is always how it comes up in my mind as a way to explain it. Do you remember uh, those little round needle holders? Like you'd buy a package of needles and it would have a bunch of
Oh yeah,
needles
yeah,
in
yeah,
it,
yeah. And you would
and
turn. You
it
could turn
turned,
it.
and there was a little hole, and you turned it to line up to get the
Yes.
needle out,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that's how I kind of see it with attunement. Now, I don't believe you need to be attuned to all kinds of energy, but to certain energies. Reiki
Okay.
energy, Amako Ki. I was attuned to read the Akashic record, which means I feel like it means I was attuned to the actual Akashic record in the fifth dimension, if you will. But what I feel like happens in an energetic attunement, when I do an attunement, I'm an instructor, so I
Yep.
do an attunement. When I'm doing that, what I feel like is happening is you are the needle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the attunement, I'm lining up that little hole through which the energy comes through and connects to you,
Okay.
much like a thread would come and connect and, thread through the eye. And once the needle is threaded, then the container is no longer necessary.
Ah,
If that
interesting.
it sounds like it, me, I'm always putting something in a crazy way, but
Right.
it just seems to make sense to me. So it's like we're aligning you to a certain frequency, the frequency of Reiki. So like Reiki, unless it's holy fire, which we're not going to talk about, but most of those types of energy systems have yantras and mantras, a symbol, and then the mantra that
Mm-hmm.
goes along with it, the name of it. And those are what you use to call on the energy. So the attunement actually aligns your energy or your vibration to that energy so that when you call on it, it's available to you.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
think that, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a bit of an enigma, right? Like,
Right.
how does
Because
it really work? But I
exactly.
have yet to attune, and not only I'm a cookie because I've instructed that, but I created my own created channel, whatever you want to call it, uh, and I do call it Reiki, um, called Empowered Chakra Reiki,
Oh
which
yeah.
is beneficial energy for each individual chakra. So when I do an attunement for each individual chakra to each individual symbol and each individual name, I have not, and in all the students I've taught, I'm a cookie. I've never had somebody say, I don't feel it.
Hmm.
We use the symbol, we call out the name, the energy begins to flow. We set the intention for the energy to flow through our hands. I have never had anyone not be able to feel it.
Interesting.
Even my sister, who I didn't attune, who said, I don't feel energy at all. So, so there's that. But then there's also the idea that I believe you can channel any kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
You can channel the energy of peace. You can channel the energy of joy. You can
Hmm.
channel the energy of gratitude. And if you just understand how to set yourself up for that, I think the world is your oyster, right?
Right.
I think that those sort of collective energies are different than the Reiki energy or the AK energy. Like I believe you have to be attuned to Amako Ki energy or to Reiki energy in order for you to have access to it. Whatever that looks like. Nowadays, Holy Fire doesn't do an attunement, but he has created some kind of energy matrix that, through the power of intention.
Sure.
So it's still the same thing. It's just not, and I gotta tell you, I've sat in probably hundreds because I went to every class that the teacher that taught me, AK, taught. I've sat through hundreds of attunements. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I love being in the energy.
Yeah.
So
They're very. You can. There's a buzz, right? A
yeah,
very palpable, good vibes in that room during that time.
Yeah, I mean, whew, yeah, whew.
Yeah, exactly. That says it
It's
better than I did.
yeah, right. Like, whew. I love to play in the energy. I mean, that is what it's all about. So
Mhm.
so go back. I always recommend to people who have experience, especially. Well, I mean, it would have to be somebody with experience. Go back to beginner's mind. Go back to like who you were or what you thought before you started, before you were attuned to any kind of energy. Before, what did you think of it? What did you think it was? What
Okay. Yep.
what did
My
you expect? Did you have expectations?
Yeah. Let me go back even further. My first exposure to anything healing wise with energy was acupuncture. So, and this is when I lived in Taiwan for about 5 years, and I had a really sore back for many, many years prior to that. And I was teaching at a school, and the president and his wife were very kind to me. They were kind of mentors, and I was complaining about my sore back, and the president's wife said, "Oh, come with me to my acupuncture appointment, and he'll fix you right up." I'm like, "No, I'm not putting needles in my back."
Oh gosh.
But she said, "Oh, it's very safe, and you trust me, you'll feel wonderful." And my attitude and has always been, um, I'm going to participate in the culture that I was in, and I don't say no to anything unless it's clearly not for me, right?
Right, right, right.
So anyway, went to the appointment. I was blown away about how much better I felt after that acupuncture appointment, and I said there is something to this.
Oh
And at
yeah.
that point, I was a kind of a I was not I was not into any of this stuff, but that was my first exposure, and I was amazed. I was so amazed, and it was literally one of the best healing experiences I've ever had.
And I think that just in my mind, acupuncture, it seems to me, is perceived by the other, the rest of the world, not the rest of the world, but other people, as less woo woo than say
Yes,
Reiki,
because
right?
there's a
Like
physical component to it,
exactly, there's a
and they
physical
trust the
component.
physicalness of it. So they say, "Oh, you're going to put this in here, and it stimulates the nerve," and da 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 da. And they
The meridians,
right,
right?
right. But
So
they say nerves. It stimulates the nerve, and da da da. So they have it figured out in their mind. It's still
right.
energy work.
Oh, no doubt. And what's interesting about um, Eastern medicine, acupuncture. I love acupuncture, by the way, like
Cool.
because I can feel the energy. Like I love it. I have a very dear friend who has a master's in Eastern medicine and
It is
herbology.
so yeah.
So
They
she's an
study years.
acupuncturist.
They
Yeah,
study
she's
years for that.
amazing. Um, but now I completely lost where I was going with it. Isn't
We were
that
talking about
terrible?
actually how you love
Oh,
acupuncture.
right. So whatever that connection is that they have, those that create, because acupuncture is centuries old. One of the stories is that the originals, the ancients, whatever you want to call them, whatever
Ancient
you call
masters.
them,
Yeah.
right? The masters, the originals. Um, long before we had any knowledge of the internal workings of the body, and before they really had access to it, because cutting people up was frowned upon until, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we're talking centuries ago, so you have
Right.
to put your mind there. They actually mapped out the organs and the meridians before they could ever even see inside the body. They did it energetically through
That's
a connection,
phenomenal.
which is
Wow.
amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
So, and the idea that like, so there's acupuncture, but there's also reflexology,
Mm.
and that the whole body is represented in
In
the
the
ear.
ear.
And if you look at the ear is like a baby
Yep.
in a in a fetal
The
position,
shape. Yes.
right? The shape of it, and so many points in your feet and in your toes affect your organs and
Mm-hmm.
your
Mm-hmm.
sinuses, and it's really quite impressive. Like, how did anybody think of that? Like,
Right.
how did you figure out if you go like this, it will help you with nausea? Like, who
Who
figured
figured
that
this
out,
out, right?
right?
I
And
have an acupuncturist here now in the U.S. And when I went to see her, the first time she worked on me, she says, "Would you like a bean?" I'm like, "A what? Do you want a bean?" I'm like, where do I put it? She says, "Come on, I'm gonna put, and gonna tape a bean to your ear at a certain point. That's gonna help your back." I'm like, "Oh." So she does the acupressure on the ear
okay.
with a a little,
It's like a little, almost like a dragé or something, right? Like
yeah,
a little BB or a
yes,
little,
exactly,
like
exactly.
like a little silver tic tac.
Yep, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
Wow.
part of her procedure.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, acupuncture, amazing,
Yep,
amazing stuff.
yep.
And I mean, they use it for so many things,
Right.
quitting
And it's actually
smoking,
been
for
accepted pretty well by Western medicine now.
it really has.
And so that's kind of that's our lead in to like the more energy only um, processes like Reiki and
Which actually is also more widely accepted than it
mhm.
was at one time,
I read an article that they're allowing Reiki masters to come into like um,
cancer units.
cancer units and old age homes,
Yeah,
and
hospice and
yeah, and people just really respond, especially people who are older and have lots of aches and pains. They
hmm
respond really well to it. And the study I saw was like, well, it's not doing any harm. This is acceptable, and there's no problem with it.
isn't
I'm not.
that great?
Yeah.
There's
The
not
next step is to
not
get
causing any
insurance.
harm.
Get the
Oh yeah,
insurance in on it, right?
yeah, right. Well, yeah, right. Um,
Different topic,
okay,
right?
that's another episode altogether, right? I think more and more people are open to it, and I think you see it more, but I think you also like. Well, I found out that Dr. Oz's wife was a Reiki master,
Ooh,
which
cool.
that was cool, and but then there was Dr. Oz.
Well, yeah,
So,
that's true.
but so there's that. But then, like, okay, fine, I'll tell you. I'm a general hospital watcher, have been my entire life, and there was an arc a couple years ago where they were doing energy work on, on the show. There was
Okay.
a but
How did they
but
treat it? Was it
well, I
respectful?
was not too happy with the way they
Mm,
treated it because it was in the guise of a cult, right? So, kind of like the death card shows up, right?
right.
I
Okay.
mean, it's kind of the same thing. So, but it's fiction, and whatever. I got over it. But you would hope that if you don't have anything nice to say, you wouldn't say anything at all. So, you know what I mean? If
Yeah.
because everything is present in your energy before it creates a physical issue.
Hmm. That's the
Um,
kind of like the basic theory of why you do energy work.
exactly right. And so, and very much like if you have an onset of some kind of an illness, if you say what was going on in your life at the time that this happened, many times people can tie it to some sort of life event,
Yeah, that's
which
true.
is I mean, I've learned from very different people and from very different schools of thought, and fascinating conversations I've had over, how to assess the energy, how to assess a person's physical well-being, how working in the energy has an impact on their physical being. And then of course there's, the play, because that is my jam. I love
Yeah.
to play in the energy, right? Like I've said before on the show, if you need trauma work or you want to do shadow work, I know where to send you. It's not me. But when you need a break from that, you come to me.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna take you behind, I'm gonna walk you down the road behind an otter, and you're gonna figure out some new things about yourself. Maybe we'll show you something from behind a waterfall that will tell you a couple of things that you didn't know about yourself. Like So that's my jam and what I love to
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
But this is the best example. When I first started doing the work, and everybody, all the students are like, well, what if the person I'm working on doesn't feel anything? The very best advice I got from the Grand Master was, well, if they, first of all, whatever they feel or they don't feel is perfect. It's exactly perfect for them. Whatever,
Mm. Yep.
whatever it is for them, it is perfect. But ask the person when they're finished, how do they feel compared to when they started? Are you
Mm.
more relaxed? I have never once had somebody tell me they weren't more relaxed.
Yep.
They didn't feel better. They it's maybe not some, I mean, there is the hands-on healing and the, what is that? Spontaneous healing of certain afflictions. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a person's physical well-being. So, with that said, I have heard somebody say about energy work that, well, if it was really real, wouldn't it fix something and you'd never have to do it again?
No.
Okay, right. So what do you
Right.
think? I,
Well,
I don't I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But what do
sure.
you think?
I think we as humans are kind of mistreating our bodies all the time with stress, um, junk food, the chemicals in our environment, and just normal wear and tear. And so, well, here's the example. I see a chiropractor once a month, um, and that's maintenance. So the same thing for energy work. You can use energy work to maintain and to rejuvenate your tired body. So no, the answer is no. You would never. It's not true that you wouldn't have to go again. It's maintenance.
I agree with that. So for me, because I've been my whole life a 0 to 60 person, and I'm also a I get it, why don't you person?
Really?
And yeah. Um, but I'm also very quick to react when I perceive that you are, uh, when I perceive, okay, so perception, that you are doing something that's going to hurt someone I care about.
Mm,
Not so much myself, but so I've gotten into trouble in, certain circumstances when it seems like somebody was pulling some crap on my husband or one of my kids
sure.
or
Yep. Yep.
something like that.
Yep.
And
It's the mama bear thing.
they're right, and there are places I just won't go to. There are places I probably shouldn't have gone to for a few years, but it's been so. My point being, 0 to 60, drama, anger, reaction. This is reaction, right? And you hear all the time. You can't control what other people say or do. You can only control how you react to it. So, in an endeavor to sort of get control of what was happening, part of the I am a sponge for negative energy,
Hmm.
right? Which, as it turns out, was only half right. I was a sponge for all kinds of energy. Because I mean, some of the stories, if you heard some of the stories about when I would be in places that were up, right, that were pumped, where the people were crazy and pumped. I mean, I was kind of famous in the Liberty Tax franchise organization because I would react to all the energy of all the excited people in the room, and I had a very hard time keeping my mouth shut because it
Oh
would
wow.
just erupt,
Right.
you
Yep.
know. And I mean, I more than one time I heard the CEO say, "And was Angie quiet this time?"
Ha.
So I was kind of famous, I couldn't help myself. So okay, so if those things are reactions, right? You can't control what anyone else says or does. And this is not just negative, but also positive, right?
Mhm.
But you can control how you react to it. So somebody does something really nice to you, if you react in some kind of way, whatever it might be, like way crazy or over the top, or way like a shrinking violet, like you don't deserve what they gave you, whatever it is, it's still the reaction. what I discovered is there's a correlation between balanced energy and balanced reactions. And balanced energy is resilient energy, and balanced and resilient energy doesn't have those strong reactions to circumstances, situations, and other people like unbalanced energy.
Yep.
So when
that reminds me, I've been in Reiki situations where the practitioner is either talking or maybe even just demonstrating, and she'll say, here's an example. The person is just kind of unable to participate in a warm conversation, and the Reiki practitioner says, your heart chakra is closed. No wonder you're having trouble with your emotional connection to other people. Or the other way might be, like, you are all in your head. You've got so much focused on your intellect. You've kind of shut down the heart chakra, and being able to feel that with the energy, knowing that the person is unbalanced, and the balance, by rebalancing the chakras, the emotional effect of that is the person becomes emotionally balanced as well.
Oh, absolutely. So that's one of the things about Amakoki as opposed to when I learned Reiki. Amakoki is very focused on assessment and balance. So there's one whole symbol dedicated to align, bless, and clear. So, right.
I like that.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it really is an amazing modality. That there is no doubt about it. But so in learning to assess the chakras, it got to be where, because you're actually taught to go through it, work with a person. Is the root chakra balanced? And so you see, I tip because that's body pendulum. That's how what I do.
Sure.
You can use you can use a rock on a chain. You can, you can use the green light, red light. You can use the yes, no, whatever works for you. The heavy light, whatever works for you. But is the root chakra balanced? Is the sacral chakra balanced? Is the heart chakra balanced? So you go through. And so, for example, let's say I would get to the throat chakra and I would find an imbalance in the throat chakra. And then that would lead me to say to the person, well, I wonder if you have something that you need to tell somebody, or if you really truly feel like you're not heard when you speak, or if you've been biting your tongue, and choking back something that you really want to say, like you don't feel connected to your voice. And they'd be like, how do you know that?
Yeah, right.
And I'd be like, it's all in your energy. I assess your energy, and it's in your energy. I read your energy, and you sat in front of the chair. You gave me permission to interact with your energy, because I don't think we can have a conversation about energy healing without talking about permission and boundaries.
Yeah.
So we will get to that after. We're coming up on shameless plug in just a minute or two. But you gave me permission to assess your energy. I did, and your energy tells me a story. And so, the more you do it, and you don't need to be attuned to Amakoki, right? You just need to understand the chakras, and you need to understand how to ask the question and get the answer. It's a yes/no question.
Right.
You connect to the energy of the person. You ask, is the root chakra balanced? Yes or no? And root chakra is grounding and security. That the sacral chakra is all about the sweetness of life and procreation and creativity. The solar plexus your solar plexus is out of whack. Are you disempowered? Right? Like,
yep.
But there's also in the solar plexus, it's not just personal power, but it's mental power and it's willpower.
Okay.
So somebody who's struggling, with an addiction may need shoring up in the solar plexus because their willpower is out of whack.
We should talk about my procrastination issues.
Yeah, maybe we should. Nah, I'm a world-class procrastinator, so I'm not really the one to lead you through that. But anyway, so there, you can learn that, you can learn it, you can understand it. So if you have, you know, the basic idea of how the energy works, and I also believe, not I believe Amakoi Ki especially, but not only Amakoi Ki, but I believe the energy is intelligent, and I believe the energy will do what it needs to do. So if you set the intention, and the person sets, so if you set the intention to send the energy in a way that's comfortable and appropriate for all concerned, and the person sets the intention that they are open to receive whatever they need in this moment, I don't think you can lose. I really don't think you can lose.
Yep.
So
when I was studying Reiki, one of the things that my instructor taught was that when you are using your, when you're giving someone Reiki in a certain place in their body, when it's time to move on, you'll just know, because the energy says, we're done here. Keep move up, move to the next spot. So to your point, exactly, it's intelligent.
right. And then, I mean, I actually mostly work through a person's head.
Okay.
So if you have a session with me, mostly I'm on your head and your shoulders. I don't really, I connect to the energy and pull the energy through in a different way than that.
Sure.
So,
okay.
But both are perfect, right? They
Yep.
both work. But I remember a teacher that I got involved in and involved with in something I studied, was kind of attached to the energy. It worked for everybody the way it worked for them, which is not the truth.
Oh, and it has
right?
to be this way.
Right. Like, because especially when I work on somebody that's got inflammation in their body, my hands turn to ice.
Oh, interesting.
And this teacher could not figure it out because her hands always got hot.
Yeah, mine get hot.
Right? Well, mine don't. Is mine wrong? No. Is yours wrong? You know what I mean? It's just different. We're different channels. So there's that. And now it is time now for shameless plug.
All right.
So what you plugging today? Are we plugging your book today, or?
I'll do my Tarot Geek website. So I have tarotgeek.com is where I have my tarot geek, my tarot spot online. And if you're looking for a tarot reading, that would be the best place to go to find me. I also have the Tarot Geek Facebook page and the Tarot Geek Facebook group. So that is my name online. I am the Tarot Geek. So
there you go.
Yep. Look me up.
And actually, your personal YouTube channel is Tarot Geek as well.
Yep.
So, although I will say, you want to make sure that you're connecting with John, because I have seen other people use that moniker here and there.
Yeah. On TikTok, there's like a dozen of them.
So right. Exactly. So,
so
but John is the Tarot Geek, so don't you forget that. Anyway, yeah. So that's really, like, hook you up for a reading. Like, he's telling us all about tarot. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take 1 second first to remind you that we have doesitresonatewithyou.com. And if you go to doesitresonatewithyou.com and sign up for the email list, you will get a copy of the fillable Tarot Time PDF that lets you follow along with the different suits and the different cards and write your notes. And you don't even need to print it out. You can just do it online because the whole thing is fillable. And so that would be a great place to keep your notes on, the things, because by the time John's finished with all these, you're going to have the whole framework of tarot at your fingertips, which I think is amazing. So there's that. So that's doesitresonatewithyou.com. And then there's let's chat at doesitresonatewithyou.com, which is our email. So if you have ideas for the show or you'd like to get in contact with us that way, you can do it that way. And then I'm going to remind you that I've got Angie ZXUH YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and search just ZXUH, not my... Why is that? That is just so weird. Don't search
it's their search algorithm. It's
Yeah,
how
it's
that
just
it's how
I
YouTube
don't
search
know if it
works.
might work if you did Angie plus ZXUH, but if you
Yeah,
just search
or put it in
ZXUH,
quotes. You could put it in
yeah,
quotes.
yeah, you could do that too. So, but if you search ZXUH, you'll find it. Please pop over and subscribe so you get the daily, or I don't know, daily is a lot. I'm going to tell you right now on the show that doing a daily card is a lot. So it might turn out to be weekly. We'll see what happens.
Okay, go for every
It's
other day.
summer. It's summer and we're getting ready to open a pool, people. So that's not even it. It seems like a lot, but so we'll see how that goes. But I have the YouTube channel. On that channel there will be the card of the day. There will be other little things going on, little energy work things. And if you get very lucky, I haven't decided yet, I think the follow the otter meditation will be on there. So
Hmm,
that will be next Monday. That won't happen until after next Monday. So we might just live stream it. We'll see what happens.
cool.
Um, and that'll give you a really good idea of how I work. So Angie'sTheXUH.com, Angie's the XUH on Facebook, Angie's the XUH on YouTube. Just look for my name and you'll find me. You can't miss it. So
You're lucky you have
okay.
a unique name, Angie.
Well, I am the only one. Like literally. And literally there was only two of us that have the last name on the planet. So um it is what it is. Anyway, okay. So now back to energy healing. I think a lot of people, so we didn't really get to finish, I think, with what did you think before you started it? What did you
Well,
think it
oh
was?
yeah.
How did you think?
So I was very skeptical,
Hmm,
and I was
you
also
were?
surprise, surprise, right? And also with the acupuncture, I was kind of afraid, but that was more because of the
Yeah.
needles. Now,
Oh,
fast
okay.
forward about 10 years when I had my first Reiki. Um, in between time, I had experienced applied kinesiology. So my chiropractor is an applied kinesiologist, which just means he uses muscle testing to determine if certain treatments are necessary. That was like voodoo. I was like, what is this that you're doing? So I was surprised at that, but also approach everything with an open mind. And then when I got to my first Reiki session, I was pretty much ready to say, I know this stuff is real. I don't know what to expect. I'm apprehensive, but also looking forward to it. And so again, approached it with a very open mind and very much look forward to it.
Well, that's amazing. I for me, and this is something I always tell students and people who are new. For me in the beginning, I didn't really know what to think. Like I was on a mission to figure out how not to be a sponge for negative energy. That's what I wanted. Because I was tired of it. I mean, I went to this, um, and it was it was some kind of a mediumship reading. Like it was a group, a small group,
Yep.
maybe 10 or 15 people. It was a small group of people, in a mediumship reading, and I have to tell you that by the time it was done, I was miserable. I had a headache, like,
Mm,
because there was a family there that was just so dramatic and kind of toxic
mm.
that I reacted to that, because I
Right.
was open to hear whatever was going to happen.
Oh, of
Which,
course.
P.S., by the way, I didn't get any good. The only good thing I got from her was that as well. So my being difficult to read for, it has always been that way. I don't know what that's all about, but that's another story for another day. So I was on a mission, right? And I had reading after reading. Like I had a reading with Val, she's been a guest. I had a reading with Lisa, she's been a guest. I had a reading with Philip Clark, who's a numerologist locally, who's kind of famous locally, like a lot of people know him. And they're all, I mean, Val walked down the stairs and said, well, these people, they're telling me that you can tell me things. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And Lisa, I just would love to work with you because looking at your chart, this is amazing. You could totally do this work. And Philip, you could be one of us. It would be an honor to work with. I remember him saying that to me.
Huh.
And I was like, but I didn't know what that looked like. Everybody said I could do it, but they didn't say what I could do.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So I couldn't figure it out. And then I got hooked on the rocks. Oh gosh. Just got hooked on the rocks. And then I got to a point where I had another reading with this woman, I think she was not in the shop very much longer after this. She literally said to me, Angie, you don't need another reading. You need to go out and figure out what it is you're going to do. You
Hmm.
know all the answers already. You know what is here, what's
Yeah.
available for you. You need to
Yep.
go figure
Someone
out
needs to
how
tell
to
me that
execute
too,
it.
I think.
So that's what led me to, the other shop and taking Reiki, and then finding out that my niece was teaching Amakuki. And, I took that really seriously. I mean, I did all the session work to get all of the certifications to become, you know, a certified Reiki or certified AK master, practitioner, instructor, and a master instructor. I did all that work. Like, that's not just, okay, here you go out and Reiki the world. That's, I'm not going to give you this certificate until you've proven to me that you're willing to put in the work, which I
Hmm.
did.
Hmm.
Hundreds of sessions
Yep.
on, all kinds of people. And then there was a point where it stopped being new.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
it got to the place where it was just what I do. And I was like,
That's really interesting.
yeah. So, because in the beginning it was like surprising and
Yeah.
fresh, and
Right. Right.
and and when you get to the place where there's just nothing surprises me anymore. Oh, I'm going to Atlantis. Okay, cool. I'm going to do a meditation and take people to Valhalla. Awesome, but not shocking, right?
Hmm.
So
Right. Right.
there is a place where you get to, it's just what you do. So embrace and enjoy beginner's mind. Embrace and enjoy the beginning. And there's nothing to be afraid of.
Right.
Because I think something that keeps people from this work is that they're afraid of what they can't see. They're afraid of the unknown. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, no, you shouldn't take Reiki unless you're ready for it.
Right.
Ready
Or
how?
here's the other fear. I don't think I'm doing this right.
Oh yeah, that is a big deal. So that's why the core of my work is this prayer of intention and state of neutral, right?
Yep.
Everything I teach hinges on the prayer of intention and the state of neutral, because I believe that if you set yourself up with the right intention to begin with, then you don't have any trouble. I mean, I've heard things like, oh, yeah, I know I need to be careful not to be using my energy to do these sessions. And I'm like, what? Well, yeah, I could deplete my own energy. No. If in fact you're depleting your own energy, then whoever taught you to do this didn't teach you well.
Hmm. Right. You're a
Because you are
conduit.
a channel, you're a conduit, right?
Yep.
For the energy. Your energy should not be coming along with it at all.
You know what? On that note, when I remind myself of that, it's like, hey, you know what? It isn't up to me. I don't have to do
Right,
anything, right?
right.
I just have to be and allow the energy to flow through.
That's exactly right.
That takes the pressure off. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, what took the pressure off was learning that you don't have to. I don't work like that.
Okay.
When I work on somebody, I don't work like those hand positions and everything. I was like, what is this? I did it in the beginning. I called it training wheels to get accustomed to the energy. And then after that, I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
Okay. I still do
Um,
that.
well, if you do, that's fantastic. If that is the system, you're very framework driven,
Hmm. That's true.
right? You are very framework driven. And so if that is the framework from which you do the work, the place that you put it, that's perfect. For
Yep.
me, that doesn't work. You know why? Because it's not fun.
Ah.
Can I do it? Of course I can do it. But why would I do it if it's not fun? Like if you're talking about building a business, to me, that would be no different than sitting and doing tax returns all day long. In fact,
Hmm.
it'd be less fun than tax returns, because tax returns are fun for me to do. Like, I don't know. I know people are going to think that's weird, but it is fun for me. I
It's
love,
digging into something new, right?
well, right, because they're different every single time, and I put the stuff in order, and I put it in, and it turns out the way that it's supposed to look, and I know what that is, and it's fun. It's just fun. And then if I get really lucky and I find money for people, I
Hmm.
even love that more. So there's that. But so this is just not, and then the whole you need to be quiet and somber, and like that's just not how I roll.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we are having a conversation. What is this? How does this feel?
Mm-hmm.
What would this look like? If you change this, what would happen? Like if
Sure.
you're going to work with me, you're going to work, right? If
Yep.
you want a spa session, I can do that for about 15 minutes. But then I'm going to lose
Then
my mind.
you're like, all right, we're done.
Yes, because like I said, I look at the clock and it's like 5 minutes. Come on, Metatron, kick in, because
Right.
I do every time. Metatron, you need to speed up time a little bit, because this is just, and it's not that I don't want to give somebody everything, right? I want to I do my best in a session, but it's just not fun. Now
Mm-hmm.
the groups, when I blast people's heads up with the crystal energy in the room, I love that. When they call me up and tell me, well, that nobody calls me because I don't give out my phone number, but when they message me and tell me they got lost going home, like, yes, I did good. It was fun. So how do you do that? Like I love that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or energy shares, where you set up 2 or 3 tables and
Yes.
everybody gets energy for like 5 minutes. So you're working on somebody for 5 or 10 minutes, and then, or 12 or whatever. And then you're working on someone else, and you flip around, like kind of like the round robin thing we do
Yep.
with the tarot reading. So there's that. So now, because I know we're getting to the end, I think it's really important to talk about the idea of boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think that when we talk about sending energy, and using our own energy, that is a boundary. My energy is not included in this work that I'm doing. Like that's always an intention I set.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also, and I don't want to spend a lot of time about talking about protection, although that could probably be a whole episode on its own. I don't believe there's some entity out there on the other side trying to get us. I don't buy it.
Right.
I just don't believe it. I don't
Yep.
believe I don't believe it. Like, you can believe it, that's okay, but I don't. However, I also believe that there are people out there that like to go poking around in people's energy when they don't have permission.
Mm.
Like psychics or supposed psychics.
Right.
Like the ones, I'm sure you've heard this before, the ones that will walk up to you and say, oh, I sense that
Right.
you're troubled about something.
Right. I have a
And I
message
will
for you.
say, no, you don't, because I gave you no permission to access my energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they look at you like, oops. So you have the power in your own mind. That's what I want people to know. Like, you set up yourself, you set up the way you move through the world through intention. And that protection is inherent when your intentions are in place.
Mm-hmm.
Only good comes to me, only good comes from me.
Yep.
I walk in gratitude, all of those things. So I'm sure that when you took a class, intention in some way was part of it.
Yes.
Or
Absolutely.
invocation. Sometimes
Yep.
there's, invoking the guides
Yes.
as part of it.
Invoking the guides for sure. I got another sub point on permission. One of the things that does happen, depending on how you do Reiki, is that there might be hands on someone else's body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely an area where you need permission. And there are certain, clearly there's boundaries. And, when you take Reiki, they tell you this part, you're just going to have hands above, because that's appropriate.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Well, and there are some states, such as Florida, because I did a lot. So if you teach energy work and you are going to offer CEUs to massage therapists, there's an entirely different regulatory situation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So some states like Florida, if you are not a massage therapist, you are just a Reiki practitioner, you can't touch people at all.
Right. Yep. I do know that.
At all. So any hands-on work had to be eliminated from the material. It had to be separated, one from the other.
But what's interesting is Reiki doesn't really care. I mean, Reiki.
No, it really doesn't.
Fine.
It
Reiki
really
works
doesn't.
just fine.
So, and I'll tell you, I always ask, are you okay with light touch?
Yeah.
Because that's all you really need. However, there is a place I get to, and I don't do this with people I don't know, where I can see, it's a form, I guess, of acupressure. I can see what the body needs by way of, it's sort of like adjustment.
Sure.
Not really like adjustment. It's like, okay, lean over on your, roll over on your left side, and let's push back on your right shoulder,
Okay.
and or let's push down on your shoulders and create space between your head and your neck, like, or your head and your shoulder. So I do that, but I don't do that. I only do that for people I know.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like,
It's a
because I don't even know what kind of modality that would be. But the point is, I'm not afraid to do it. I just wouldn't do it for other people, because the people I do it for have the idea that they know, well, if this hurts in any way, or that, what I mean, makes me uncomfortable, then they just say something.
yeah. Yep.
Where I feel like somebody new that you're working on might think this is how it's supposed to be,
Mm,
and they might not say anything at all,
right.
which
Yeah. The people
I
that,
always try to make it clear, you know,
if they already know, like, and trust you, that's you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an entirely different
Totally
ballgame.
different thing. Yep. Exactly.
So, and honestly, I think that I don't think we can finish this conversation out without having just a teeny chat about the idea of accessing another person's energy. So, I'm on your table, or I'm in your chair, or whatever, for a session, and I say, I'm really having trouble with my husband. Can you just go in and see what the
Check
deal
things
is with
out.
him?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a
Mhm.
big fat no in my mind.
Nope.
Like, I mean, and if other people do it, that's fine, right? Like, if
Hmm.
that's how you operate, I'm not here. I'm not the energy police,
Right.
but this is how I feel about it. I haven't gotten permission. So if somebody asks, and I've had people as a card reader, is my husband cheating on me? Oh, no, 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 no. Not answering that at all, because I don't have permission to access his energy. He
Hmm.
is not here to give me that permission, or she, or the other person. The only place I give this some leeway is with a parent and child, because I believe that's implied consent.
Sure.
Right. So, like, if I want to work on one of my kids, and I don't necessarily want to tell them, because I'm a little woo for them, I just go ahead and do it because they're my kids. Right. Like, although one of them would be totally okay with it, because he's the one that used to walk around and tell me all the stories about when he was big, when he was 2-3 years old.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He
The
knew all about when he was big. Like, he had actual stories of places he was, and things he saw, and animals, and so
that is such a
he's,
fascinating topic.
yeah, right.
Yep. Especially with kids. This is one of my favorite topics. I've got a couple books on that. We should do that, right?
I think that'd be a great topic. Like, there's places to tell stories about that, and to give our thoughts on what we think that phenomena is, and
Yeah.
how we can hold on to that for ourselves, and
Oh, yeah.
what
It's
Walt Disney said about meditation and everything else. Yeah, that'd be okay. We need to remember to write that down, because we are very good at forgetting when we come up with a topic for a show.
Yep.
We're very good at forgetting what we said. Although we do get transcripts of the show, so we can find it in
Right.
there. But
Thank you to my geeky technology
yeah,
love
right.
here.
Yes, I mean, technology. On one hand, it makes your life much easier. On the other hand, it makes your life difficult. So
It
it's
is
all
the
in how you
proverbial
react to it,
double-edged
right?
sword. It is the proverbial double-edged sword.
So I suppose, are running the risk of going over just a little bit, but I just wanted to put this out there, because the idea of energy healing, the idea of energy work, and I've heard it said that Jesus was a Reiki healer. Now, whether it was actually Reiki, I don't know. Asui went into the woods for 30 days by himself and came back with the spark that turned into Reiki. However, before, in the 60s, the 70s, I was a kid in the 60s, before you ever even did any of that, or even had an idea of what energy work might be, there was You know, you fall down and you hit your knee. You rub your knee to
Yep.
make it feel better.
Right.
That's energy work.
Yeah.
Or you hurt yourself and your mom kisses it for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's energy work.
Yep.
Right? So the idea of energy work and reacting to energy has been around for a long time, you know, and it's doesn't need to be overwhelming.
Right. It's
You
not as
know,
complicated as people think it is.
no, and there's the whole plight of the empath,
Hmm.
which is probably another episode altogether by itself. I think that a lot of people are attached to the idea, you know, like that martyr thing, which is
Right.
not to say that people don't struggle with the energy, okay? Because I believe they do. But I think that, again, if you figure out how to have balanced reactions to the energy around you, you don't have to be a sponge for negative energy, right? You can learn
Right.
not to be. I
Right.
can teach you that. Um, so I think, you know, energy work has been around for a long time, and I think that, you know, somewhere along the line, those sort of spontaneous healings and those revival tent things, I think not all of it was BS. I think some of
No,
those,
no,
some of
no.
them were real.
I would totally agree with that. In fact, there's elements of that for the Middle Ages. There are, you know, saints from the Middle Ages that have stories of spontaneous healing, and you read them and you go like, oh, that's kind of like Reiki. And
Yeah,
the parallel now is very clear.
yeah. I mean, it's there is, we really need to get our recommendation, our book recommendation page up on the website, um because I'm going to mention one more, and I think because this is a fascinating read if you haven't read it, but the Reconnection by Dr. Eric Pearl. It is an easy read. I would send you my copy, but I gave it to somebody and never got it back. um and it is, and he's out there doing attunements and teaching people how to do the work now anyway, but it's a really fascinating take on how it works, and he had quite a bit of success with working with groups of people who had similar afflictions.
Okay.
So I think you'll find it to be really interesting. So
Yeah,
if
that sounds
anybody
great.
listening is interested in sort of an easy read, I could feel the energy of the book as I was reading, like
Oh,
almost like I was becoming attuned to that energy as
sweet,
I was reading the book. So,
sweet.
you know, there's always that. So anyway, so that's it, I think, really, because we're at the end.
Yeah.
Next week we are going to be talking about the power of attraction,
The
and
law.
we're gonna throw in the law of attraction, right? The law of attraction. We're gonna throw in a little bit about all the other universal laws. We'll, you know, we'll have a little chat about that, and our ideas of how they work, you know, how it works, and you know, just what's what, like, in our minds, what resonates with us. So
Mm-hmm.
next week, the law of attraction and maybe some of the universal laws, and that'll be that. And now I would say that it is tarot time.
Yes, it is. All right. So today's card is the Seven of Cups.
Okay, so cups is emotions.
Yep. We've been getting a lot of Cups cards. So I think
I was
this
going
may
to
be
say,
lots of emotion pouring out. And just for a reminder for everyone, I'm using Chris Ann's The Light Seers Tarot deck. And the Seven of Cups. So this is choices, right? And lots of choices. And if you look at the traditional Seven of Cups card, you see kind of a whole bunch of choices in the air above the character on the card. And so the gist of the meaning is either feeling a little bit like there's too many choices available to you, but one of the positive spins of this card is needing to move forward without having all the answers. And I really like that card. I really like that aspect of this card because so many people are like, well, I can't really make my decision until I know this, and I have to research that and look into this. And they are in perpetual answer finding mode. And the gist of this card is you need to move forward without having all the answers, right?
Mm.
So that's a really nice reminder to some people, especially when that shows up in a reading. Now, the flip side of that card, when it's kind of on the shadow side, that's going to be feeling blocked by overwhelm. I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know what to do. I'm just there's just too much coming at me. I just don't even know what to do. So that's the kind of the indecision slash overwhelm aspect of this card.
Okay, wow. So just because it came to me as we were talking, so somebody draws that as their card of the day, let's say. They could then shuffle and draw another card. Okay, now what do I do about it? Right?
Right.
Like,
Sure. Yep. That's quite often when you get a large, longer reading that has multiple cards in it. There's going to be one card, especially if it's like this is the most likely outcome card or this is the future card, and it's going to be unclear. We sometimes will draw a second card just to say, okay, I need a little more information about that. Where are you going with this?
right. That's perfect.
Yep.
Wow.
I want to read the mantra for this card. So this one's a good one. My wildest imagination is a tool that I can use to inform my future in a down-to-earth way.
So all I need to do is pull my wildest imagination down to earth, and you got me in a nutshell right there.
Can I rename this the Angie card?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you draw the Seven of Cups, you need to call Angie for a session. How's that?
All right. If we can make that happen, you are
That'd
all
be
set.
amazing, wouldn't it?
You are
I'll be
all
all
set.
set, right? Like,
yeah.
Yes. So, and John and I both love to do one-on-one sessions. So don't forget tarotgeek.com, angieszxuh.com. You can schedule on both our websites. And if you'd like to get a reading or have a session, everything we do everything online. So it doesn't matter where you live. And we would love to connect with you and work with you.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, if we resonate with you, then
Right. Does it resonate with
why
you?
not? Right? All right. Well, another episode in the can, so to speak. This has been great fun, as always.
As always.
I'm so enjoying this. Like,
Me too.
when we conceived it, when we figured out that we were going to do it, I was like, well, I'm really looking forward to this. Many know that I had a show in the past, and I missed it. And so I really, really enjoy being able to get together and do this with you. So I really appreciate you showing up. This is Angie connecting to the gratitude that I feel for being able to do this.
I can feel that. That's really warm.
It's important. So with that said, that's the end of our episode on energy healing. So don't forget to join us next week when we talk about the law of attraction and some of the other universal laws. I'm really looking forward to having a lively conversation about that as well. So we will see you next week. Thanks so much, John.
Thanks,
happy
Angie.
to be here with you. And we'll just sign off for now. Right?
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to Does It Resonate With You? The thought-provoking conversation show with your hosts, Angie of the ZXUH Method and John the Tarot Geek. Please help us out by clicking the subscribe button here on the YouTube channel. We appreciate your support.